The Rocker Armor side step bars bring a cool, unique style to your 2019 and newer Ranger Super Crew, and they provide some additional protection and egress too. For an affordable price, these steps bring you good looks and functionality, making them a great fit for pretty much any truck. Now, adding side steps can be an easy way to get some more functionality out of your truck while also keeping it better protected and upping your style game. Now, these steps from Rocker Armor feature a square tube setup and a more industrial, aggressive style than we normally see. They have a pretty large step surface here too, so you'll have plenty of space and grip to access the cab, the roof, or even the bulkhead area of the bed. And since they're one level all the way back, you've got plenty of flexibility to use, well, the entirety of the step. But they are also pretty open here in the center and on the end, so they're not going to hold on to dirt, moisture, mud, or anything like that quite as much as a tubular step or one that sits a little more snug. And they also don't drop down too far either, so you're not going to sacrifice too much ground clearance or ruin your breakover angle, which may be important to those of you who are doing some more serious off-roading. But these also provide some additional coverage for your rocker panels, so if you are out there hitting the trails, these are going to give you more protection in the event you run into an obstacle. Construction here is all 2-inch square aircraft grade 6061 aluminum, and they feature a matte black powder coating over top, so you can be sure that they are very resistant to corrosion and rust. That aluminum and the open design makes them very lightweight as well, so you aren't going to be adding too much weight to your truck. And you might even end up saving a few pounds depending on what you've got on there already. Pricing will come in around $300 for this setup, making it one of the more affordable options in the category. So if you like the style and fancy some additional functionality to go with it, these will be a great buy for you because they're going to look cool and they're going to do everything you need for a really great price. Installation is pretty typical of a side step, nothing too out of the ordinary here, so they will accordingly get a 1 out of 3 on our difficulty meter, and you can expect the job to take you about 2 hours to complete. This is a totally bolt-on install, so you don't have to modify anything on your truck, plus all the hardware and bracketry you need comes right there in the box. That said, let's hand it over to one of our AT customers who's going to show you how to get these installed on your Ranger.
So for this install, really the only mandatory things that you need are going to be a 16 millimeter. You're going to need a shorter socket in here. And I have a 16 millimeter longer one that I could reach through some of the brackets. May need an extension. I used it one time, I believe. And you need a 13 as well for the U-bolt mounting. Those are the only 2 sizes you're going to need in the sockets. For ease, I just have a socket attachment here for mine. If you want to just make some of them quicker, you can do it that way. It's not mandatory. Good light to see under there is pretty good, and just used a pair of gloves because it's pretty cold out right now too. And that's pretty much it for the install right there. So in preparation for step 1 here, we're going to get 3 of our mounting brackets. Each are nicely labeled. We're going to start on the passenger side, and they're labeled nicely. So PFN for passenger front mount. Then we have 2 of the same labeled PCM-PRM, so center mount or rear mount. Both of these 2 are interchangeable between the 2, the rear and the center. These are going to be bolted together by 2 of the M10 1.5 by 25 millimeter, and I'll be using a 16 millimeter socket to snug these on at first. So we'll go ahead and get down. On to step 1 here, I have my passenger front mounting bracket. The 2 mounting points under the passenger door right here. I have 1 factory mount point here and 1 factory mount point here. I previously had some steps, but they were factory and I took them off years ago, so these are open. Generally, if they're not here, you'll have a plastic grommet that you can take out. Using the same M8 bolt that we had, I have the lock washer and then the big flat washer on the top. Go ahead and take the bracket. It can only mount on one way on this side, which is pretty convenient. Just gonna hand tighten these on first, just to get this set. And the directions call for not tightening these right away, just getting them snug, and you'll see why later in the install when you can move these back and forth to match up where you want your actual steps to lie. So I'm hand tightening these on first to make sure they're threaded in, and I'm not going to get a cross thread on them. You can use a ratchet, I'm just going to use a 16 millimeter with my extension on a gun just to speed it up a little bit. Okay. I'm going to take my socket off and put it on here because I have this snugged a little tighter. I'm just going to back it off just a little bit since I use the gun here. Drill. Now I still have, it's snug on there, but I still have some movement and play in here that I can move this bracket back and forth. And we're going to go ahead and do this for the middle and then the rear on this side. Okay, we're on the passenger middle side right now. And again, it's labeled pretty clearly, which is really nice. I have the same hex bolts that I've been using. We have 6 total for this passenger side to get these brackets on. So the 2 in the middle here, it's right in between the doors, the front and rear. I have the bottom here and I have the top mounting point here, and it matches up perfectly with the bracket here. So with this being the top one, I will not be able to use my drill gun to put that on. So I'll revert back to the socket. Just hand tightening that on, threading it in. We got the bottom. Again, I got the 16 millimeter socket. For this top one here, I'm gonna have to switch the socket from the long socket to a short socket to reach under here where it was tapping on my frame. So here's the short socket to reach up under here. With my long socket, I couldn't clear the frame right here. Yeah, it's pretty smooth right there. It's a little bit looser on the bottom, so I'm just gonna, just a little bit, but I still keep the movement. There we go. Again, it's the same as the middle mount. They're both kind of the exact same on these, so. And to make sure that last bolt that I had didn't have the lock washer in there, so I have one that's already preloaded right here. So just hand threading them in. The top ones are a little bit trickier to get just because they're a little bit harder to see. Take the short 16 mil socket so we could fit it up under here and it's not hitting the frame back there. Snugging these up. Switching over to my longer 16 millimeter socket here. This helps clear this bottom without my other bigger socket moving it to the side. Okay, and we still got a little bit of play with that, which is what we're gonna need. Okay, once all 3 of the brackets are on the passenger side, they're gonna be kind of just sticking out there like this. And we're gonna move on to the next stage and putting on the actual steps with the U brackets and the carriage bolts. So we'll get right into it. Okay, moving on to the brackets here. We have the U brackets. We have our carriage bolt. The carriage bolt will go into here. It locks in with the square. Then we have the MA nut, as well as the lock washer and the regular washer in that order, which is going to go behind here. I'll get a close-up afterwards as we tighten it behind there, but as we start here, I'm going to use some help to lift this up. It's just going to make it a lot easier than me trying to struggle. I'm going to just start off the middle line here. The U-bolt is going to go here in between. And from the starting point, I'm going to lift this up. So balance it a little bit. In that order, I'm going to have the washer behind it as I feed this through. Quite possibly. Actually, I'm going to slide this in first. And then from here, while I'm using help to hold this up, I'm going to go under here. Just going to start it and get it threaded on here first. That way it can hold and I can get them, and then we're going to adjust everything with the brackets. That one's going to go there. Move up to the front. Same thing. Got my washer, my lock washer, my M8 nut, which we're going to be using a 13mm for. I'm going to get my U-bracket. I'm going to kind of point it generally in the area. We're a little off, and we're going to be able to move this later. I'll put my lock washer next, and then I got my next nut. And right here, I'm just trying to get it on, just to thread it on here. It's a weird angle with this behind here. It actually does help just to get the reach under here. Definitely, if you have a second person, have them help you, because it's going to be pretty difficult to get these threaded in solo. Just hand tighten them. Then I'm going to move to the rear, put in our third U-bolt. They're a little snug in here sometimes. Got my flat washer, got my lock washer, and I've got my nut. Good. And this is going to allow us to start the next step. Okay, so once the few bolts are on here and everything, what I wanted to point out was in lining this up, I got a pretty good shot off this middle crossbar right here. It lined it up pretty well for what I liked. But something to take note in as you're installing this too, I didn't really touch on it at the beginning. There is a larger gap from the step to the front for the front side of this versus it's a couple inches shorter back here for the rear side. And when you open the door, if you don't have it this way, the actual step side is up past the door and there's not much room to adjust. So it does say to take note for that when you're putting passenger side and driver side on, because these bars weren't marked on this one. So yeah, now we're gonna go ahead and it calls for us to adjust our level where we want it and tighten the bolts on this side, and then we will move on to the next side.
Here is the back of the carriage bolts. There's 3 of them. Just gonna give you a better shot on these as I was tightening. That's to my liking. Moving to the back bolt back here. And we're up at the front. Nice and tight. Okay, so the passenger side is done now that we've tightened all of the bolts and nuts up. So we're gonna just repeat this on the other side and then we'll be done with the install. Fit in here, I'm gonna hand tighten these on again. And again for these, we're not gonna tighten them much, we're just gonna kind of snug them up a little bit so they still have a little play to measure out in the end. There. See that play? can move them. And like the other side, I had set, not back, I liked them all the way down. So I'm gonna just set mine up. Since we already kind of have some experience from the other side there, on kind of where I know I like it, you can play around with that. Onto the driver middle bracket. And we're gonna go again here, and back here is our 2 mount points. I like to start at the bottom one just because it kind of helps hold this bracket up. It's kind of heavy and kind of weird. Just kind of make life a little easier. I kind of have to really see under here where this one is, since this bracket has some play in it. There we go. I got my deeper socket here to tighten this bottom one, and then we'll use the short 16mm socket on these last 2 since that frame gets in the way for the long sockets. Still some there. Get this one started. Yeah, still a little bit of loose on the bottom here, but it's okay. And back into the driver rear, just verifying it and tightening the 2 points, same as the middle. Good. Using the longer 16mm socket on the bottom. Just snugging them up. Still leaving a little play so that we can get everything leveled out in the end. Short 16mm socket in the top. Okay. We still got a little bit of play here. Again, we got our brackets, our U-bolts. These are going to get set up now that we've got all 3 of our mounts in. We can go ahead and get ready to put on our step side. We have our carriage bolts, square, they fit in perfectly for the carriage. And that's what we're going to go with. Then we'll have our washer, our lock washer, and our 13mm hex nut that we'll tighten up with. Okay, I lost my helper on this one, so I'm gonna go ahead and just attempt to get this started on my own. I've just got everything kind of laid out. I'm gonna try to get this in. What I noticed from the other side too is when I put my the U bracket in here, if I line it up with the center, it actually is pretty center with what I liked and was comfortable with on the other side. And we can go from there. So I put that in, have the carriage pull through, just to get it ready. Have my washer, my lock washer. So we'll see if we can make this a little bit easier as a one-person job too. It does get a little awkward with the distance between the bolts. So that is through. I have my flat washer, then my lock washer, and I'm just trying to thread the nut on, tightening it as far as I can, and that'll get me to the next step. So doable as a one person, a lot easier if you got a second set of hands to help you out here. I got my carriage bolt in, U-bracket. Now I'm just gonna line it up on this side. I'm lining up my U through there, popping this in between the 2. Taking my flat washer on the back side, my lock washer, and then the nut, threading it on. Okay, awesome. We're gonna repeat this
over onto the back side here. And do the same thing. Throw my carriage bolt in first. I'll line that up. Okay, flat washer. Lock washer. That bolt on. Okay. You can kind of see the overview right here. I'm going to tighten my middle bracket because this one is pretty much where I want it. When I go to tighten in the U bracket here, you have some movement here. And this is kind of where you can get your level up and down to where you want it. I do like this bracket where it's at. I'm going to snug this up. I'm not going to over tighten it all completely yet till the end, but just enough that it's not moving around from where I want it. Because now I'm going to take the 13mm and swap it here. And I'm going to work off this middle one because I kind of want this to sit a little higher. It's a little low for a gap here. I'll just hold it up with my leg here. And this is the middle one again. Generally going to keep this all the way down like I mentioned before, instead of letting it push up. And I'm just going to snug this one down too, so that I can actually get my leveling done with the U-bolts. Go to the longer 16mm socket. I'll snug it up fairly decent so it doesn't move. This is going to give me enough now to work with off this back bracket. I'm going to go back to the 13mm for this one. Now we're up under the front side, the last side for us here. And make sure this is where I want it down. Going back to the 16mm. The front one you can stay with one of them on here. Now back onto the 13mm here. Onto the carriage bolt.
That's going to wrap it up here for our review and install of the Rocker Armor side step bars in matte black, fitting 2019 and newer Ranger Super Crew models. Thanks so much for watching, and for all things Ranger, be sure to keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.